All right, hey guys, I'm going to make sure this is actually working. Hey guys, today we are going to be learning about Lesson 6, Composition of Functions. So go ahead and grab something out to write with in your notes if you don't already have them. Pause the video now, go get them. Go ahead and make that section title Lesson 6, Composition of Functions. If you had to pause the video, hopefully you have your notebook set up now. If not, pause it now and then come back. Just wanted to expose us to this language here of composition of functions. This is what a textbook would look like if you were given a textbook to read. Now we know we're in Algebra 2 and that we are preparing for college algebra or college courses. So I do not expect you to write this down. I do not even expect you to truly understand this. I want to get you ready for college, so I want you to be exposed to this. So we are going to do something today called composition of functions. Now, quick review on what we have already done. So what we've already done is we have already added, subtracted, multiplied, and divided functions. So say I have f of x is 2x plus 1, and let's say I have g of x equals 4x. What we've already learned is how to add these functions. So maybe I have f plus g of x, and I want to add these together. I would simply take 2x plus 1, add it to 4x. 2x plus 4x is 6x, and I'm left with plus 1. I've now added these functions together. Excuse that interruption. So we have 6x plus 1. That would be adding. If we wanted to subtract these, let's say I had g of x minus f of x. Same notation, remember 2 different ways to write this. So I would start with my function g of x, so 4x, minus f of x is 2x plus 1. When we subtract, we must distribute this negative. So after I distribute, this becomes a negative 2x minus 1. So I have 4x minus 2x minus 1. Combine like terms, and this becomes 2x minus 1. The last thing that we saw, and this is quite important, is multiplying. So let's say I have g times f of x. Very important to note right here, this times sign is a filled in circle, not an open circle. That will come into play later. So I have function g, which is 4x, and I will multiply it by 2x plus 1. So this is good old regular multiplication. 4 times 2 is 8. X times x is x squared. 4x times 1 is 4x. So this we already know how to do. What we are going to learn how to do today, what we are going to learn is a composition. You do not need to write this down right now. I simply want you to look at this and see what we're going to do. A composition looks something like this. Maybe we will have f composed with g of x. Remember earlier I said this filled in circle is multiplication. When we have an open circle that's a little bit bigger, this means composition. Mathematics is a language. We have to translate. So f composed with g, excuse me. All this means is the function g, so this 4x, I am going to actually plug this function into f. I'm going to plug g into f. So here we go. This is the x value of f. This is the function g. I will plug g into f. So I start by writing my function f. So I start with my 2. As soon as I see an x, I start a parentheses, and this is where I plug my function in. I'm going to plug g in, 4x. 4x is going to replace the original x. I then end my parentheses and continue with my function, plus 1. So we are plugging in this g function, or the second function that appears, to the first function. If I did one that looks like g composed with f of x, we have this composition sign, but notice g comes first here and f comes second. Order does matter. That means we're going to plug f in to g. Here we plugged g into f. Here we're going to plug f into g. So now I will start with function g. It tells me to start with function g. So I will start with 4. As soon as I see an x, I put a parentheses, and I will plug this whole entire function into the x position. So 2x plus 1. And my parentheses. And I have nothing else left. These functions are what we are going to learn today. This is called a composition. So let's actually get to some notes. This is the textbook version. I just want to read it to you, and then I will let you know what we will write down. So performing algebraic operations on functions combines them into a new function, but we can also create functions by composing functions. When we wanted to compute a heating cost from a day of the year, we created a new function that takes a day as input and yields a cost as output. The process of combining functions so the output of one function becomes the input of another is known as composition of functions. The resulting function is known as a composite function. We represent this combination by the following notation. F composed with g of x, which is the same thing as f of g of x. So we're basically saying instead of doing two functions separately, we compose them together and we only have to deal with them once. Now, this is what a textbook would say. For this class, here's how we're going to focus. In this class, we will focus on this. Go ahead and write this down. Pause the video, take a minute to write this down, and when you do, unpause it. So, this notation just means these are the same thing, a different way to write it. This reads f composed with g of x. This also reads f composed with g of x. These are the same thing in a different notation. I will ask you both of these in assignments, and you're expected to know both of them. We will practice writing them both. So this means we plug in the function defined on the inside of the parentheses to the outside function, replacing it with x. We plug in the function defined on the inside of the parentheses to the outside function, replacing it with x. So pause the video and write that down. Hopefully you did. I like to look at it like this. First function f, I take the second function, I plug it in. Second function, plug it in. Order matters. Whatever the second function is, we will plug in for the x value of the first. Let's take a look at what this kind of looks like for us. So go ahead and write these functions down, set your paper up, and then we will get into the actual math. So pause it now, write these down. So hopefully you have. First, we have f of x equals 2x plus 1. And then we have g of x equals 3 minus x. The first notation says f of g of x, which is also written as, the same thing would be, parentheses, f composed with g of x. Notice f stayed first, g stayed second. We just have this composition sign. These are the same thing. Take a second and see, we're not doing any math yet, without doing any math, if you can write this down in its different notation. Pause it, see if you can write it down in its different notation. Hopefully you pause this. G of f of x is also written as g composed with f of x. Okay, so now we just plug things in. So we're saying, all right, g comes second, so I will plug g in anywhere I see x in the function f. So I begin with the function f. I'm going to write the function f in green. We begin with this function, 2. I see an x. Immediately when I see an x, I start a parentheses. And now I will plug in my function g. Exactly what it says, 3 minus x. I end my parentheses and I continue this function. I already have the 2. I've replaced the x and now I have a plus 1. Plus 1. The only thing that's changed is this x value. This x value. I've replaced it with g. Pause this and see if you can plug into the correct place. So hopefully you were able to. When we plug this in, we start with the function g. I'm plugging f into g. So I start with the function g. I will write this function until I come to an x. So I have 3 minus, I see an x. I immediately put a parentheses. I will now plug in the whole function f. Plugging in f here. 2x plus 1. Parentheses. There is nothing to continue, so we're done. So this is how you plug the actual functions in or substitute them in. After this, this is the same math that we've been doing the whole time. You distribute first, you combine like terms. You distribute first, you combine like terms. Want to do one more quick one with you. So sorry. Let's say I have f composed with f. F composed with f. So this one's kind of tricky because I see f and I want to plug in to the function f 4x with f. It sounds confusing. Don't overthink it. Begin with your function f. F says 2 times x plus 1. So I start with 2. I see this x. I immediately put that parentheses. I am plugging the function f in. Well, this is function f, so I'm going to have 2x plus 1. And I continue, plus 1. So I plugged in function f to the x value of function f. I'll multiply this one all out. So 2 times 2x is 4x. 2 times 1 is 2. I have this plus 1. I'm going to go ahead and simplify. And I have a 4x plus 3. We have now composed the function f with f. So look out for some practice today in your assignments category. We will do another review, a review video next lesson on this. For today, I just want you to practice a little bit. You might struggle some, that's fine. If you have any questions, you just let me know. If you need to rewind this and go back, please do so. And look out for your assignment. Thanks, guys.